30 years ago, a two-part episode of Star Trek Deep Space Nine entitled Past Tense depicted the world of 2024 and nailed it. The story starts with some kind of transporter pseudoscience that propels the captain and the doctor back in time to arrive in San Francisco during late August of 2024. And the pretty alien lady too, but she doesn't figure just yet. So we're in the past from the point of view of the characters, in the future from the point of view of the writers, and in the present from our point of view today. I'm sorry if it's confusing. So in the Star Trek world of today, undesirable populations are kept walled inside what are called sanctuaries, a kind of buffer zone between the cities proper and the untamed wilderness beyond, no doubt seething with marauders of every description. Government austerity budgets are the norm. There's nothing in terms of public education, healthcare, or housing. Sanctuary folk live in tents and abandoned buildings, and despite being law-abiding citizens, they're unemployed, so they're kept well away from the bourgeoisie, lest they trespass on the parade of their betters marching toward material glory. And this looks like any major city in the world today. Homeless people segregated and unwelcome, and self-absorbed plutocrats with impeccable hair and teeth boring each other to death over drinks and extravagant delicacies. It sure feels familiar to me. Ireland has got a massive housing and homelessness crisis affecting Irish people and immigrants alike. We've taken in a lot of refugees and asylum seekers lately, but with no provision for housing, education, employment, language or vocational training, cultural education, or any other means to facilitate their assimilation into our society. What they get instead is, "Welcome to Ireland, here's your tent." This is the Portobello neighborhood near where I live. These fence units were erected to prevent people camping here by the canal. They're ugly and stupid and half-assed. There had been a big tent camp here with, I would say, 50 or 60 occupants. And then one morning it was hastily dismantled and the people bussed away. Where to, I have no idea. I feel like I'm on the set of that Trek episode. I haven't got any original footage of tent camps because I don't wish to alarm anyone living there. Xenophobic stooges have been harassing, photographing, and insulting people and have even attacked them physically. So if someone sees a guy with a camera, they might feel threatened. They've got reason to. So yeah, we now have fenced-in tent communities all over Ireland. And to ensure that Dublin remains attractive to businesses and tourists, the Gardaí periodically raid the camps, confiscate all of the tents and the occupants' belongings, and force the homeless onto buses, bringing them to suburban and rural accommodations, with, again, no opportunities for work or facilities to help them integrate into our society, and where the local people naturally don't want them. I grew up in the Bronx, so I'm well accustomed to city life. I've always been in cities, so foreigners don't bother me. Cities are big places with lots of expansion joints and room for everyone. But if I lived in a small community, I would not be happy to see scores of unemployed foreigners crammed into some disused hotel or dormitory, twiddling their thumbs day and night. That's not doing us any good, and it's not doing them any good either. They have to be brought into society, not isolated, because they're here. Trying to exclude them is only going to end with something like the Bell riots. It's a doomed strategy. But how can they integrate? Irish politicians are only willing to shake that moneymaker for their corporate sugar daddies, so of course there's no budget for dealing with all these migrants. There never was a plan. With the cost of living rising constantly, we're all being driven out of the cities and towns by extortionate rents and house prices, artificially inflated by the massive numbers of private equity vultures and investor parasites buying up property, and for whom overpriced is a non-issue because they're just going to lease it or flip it. Value for money is irrelevant so long as they can profit. We've had crippling austerity now since 2008. It was never meant to end. Austerity represents criminally poor returns on taxation. The purpose of austerity is to underfund all government services and public infrastructure so that they break. so they're no longer fit for purpose, so that public assets can be sold off to private interests while the brokers, those we elect to represent us, pocket some really sweet commissions. Ireland is one of the world's richest countries on paper, but its people are desperately poor. We've got stagnant poverty wages and stagnant poverty benefits, while inflation relentlessly drains our already inadequate finances. We are gradually being dispossessed, like the sanctuary folk in Star Trek. Housing is a travesty. Healthcare is utterly broken, with 12 to 24-month waiting lists, even for serious conditions. The state of children's healthcare in particular is an absolute crime. And ambulances arrive hours late. You're better off driving to the hospital yourself.
So get up and get down. 911 is joking your town.
There aren't enough public high school teachers because the fee-paying schools poach the best of them, and special needs students might as well pray for a miracle. Everything is broken now from 16 years of needless austerity, and I mean intentionally broken. They did this so that we citizens can't agree where to begin fixing it. When the entire country has gone tits up, what is your first move? You don't know. No one knows. It's too much. It's overwhelming. They keep us at cross purposes, paralyzed with indecision, while they finish the job of draining us and all of our public goods to serve their corporate masters. Democracy? We are offered the privilege of voting for the loyal custodians of the plutocracy's interests. Through austerity, we have become the victims of taught helplessness. As the captain rightly says,
they've just given up. The social problems they face seem too enormous to deal with.
For the life of me, I don't know how the writers could have picked this date. Makes you wonder if time travel really is possible after all. Cheers.
Welcome to the 21st century, Doctor.